Perry Talks, the weekly show where Jools and Perry talk about making games together and playing games together. I am one of your hosts, Jools, and on the other side we have...
Oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. Sorry, I was just playing I was just playing my daily Ep.2 puzzle.
Wow, what is that
first
game?
Of the
that
month.
Looks fantabulous.
It is fantastic. I'm Perry, one of the co-hosts, as he was about to say. Sorry, just
Yeah.
I'll put it down.
I said
I'll put it down. I'll put it down for now.
Yeah, it's hard to put down. Oh, nice mug, by the way. That's hilarious. Oh, look how we did not plan this.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Nice. See, you got the black handle and the black inside. I went
what's yours? White?
Yeah.
Look at that.
It was a little cheaper, I think, too. But I actually
right.
I like seeing the liquid. It's not so, I get to see the colors.
To see what you're drinking, just in case someone,
gives
you some purple poison or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, then you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is our second week of Atooi Tizorks. Did we have a knuckle crack in the old microphone there?
Mm-hmm.
I think this week I'm going to kick things off with a little bit of an update about the game we're working on, which maybe will become a common thing. And right now, the main game we're working on is Hatch Tales.
Ever heard of it?
Higgon Higgity Hatch Tales.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The one thing I miss about the old name Chicken Wiggle is calling it Chicky Wig, because that was a fun name, referring to it as Chicky Wig. But now it's Higgon Higgity Hatch Tales.
It is always, every single time, it is Higgon Higgity Hatch Tales.
Higgon Higgity Hatch Tales.
I don't know where that comes from. I don't know where your nicknames come from.
I don't know what that is, but I like it.
It is fantastic.
So what are we up to? We are adapting artwork in the new HD style. Yep, still doing that, which is quite a process.
Yes.
And that's pretty much me doing that now. My good friend and very talented artist, Michael Veroni, established the style way back when for the Kickstarter, did a exceptional job. And I, over the last couple of years, I've just attempted to live up to the bar that he set. And I've actually got better. It's helped improve me as an artist, which is amazing.
Absolutely,
anyway, yeah. So I've been working on that. So that's been super fun. Slow, but really rewarding process. Just going through the old artwork, blowing it up, I think it's 600%, and then painting over it in the new style, and bam, so throwing it into the game. It's always a beautiful reveal when that happens. You replace a new block or theme or character or whatever, throw it into the game, play it for the first time in HD, and it's lovely. I really enjoy it. It's a really fun process.
I love what you said. I mean, we are constantly learning the trade. And so, Jools, you've been doing this, I think, before I was born.
92.
I think you were in I was born in 92.
There you go.
So
amazing,
that's crazy.
Right? It's so crazy.
I know.
30 years this year.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
So just before we started recording, I was actually working on some sound for our secret game. And it's just, you're constantly learning, project by project, day by day. It's really fun because it's like,
it is.
Even at the beginning of Hatch Tales, when it was Chicken Wiggle Workshop, the difference of our skills and everything that we're doing is so different. It's almost
amazing, isn't it?
And it's just it's how it always is in that. I think a lot of people, it's a constant struggle of learning new processes while doing something that you're really good at. You have your system, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I can do this, and you almost feel stupid for these realizations, but it feels so good. So
it's amazing, and I think that is a mindset as well, right? You have to be open to improve. If you think you're good enough, you close that door. If you know you can get better, then the door's open and you can learn and build upon your skill set. It's definitely a mindset. Yeah, man, good point. Other things going on with Hatch Tales is programming tasks. Matthew is obviously working on there's lots of little details he's having to work on, which is death by 1,000 cuts. It's just lots of little things like, that needs to move and that needs to go over there. And when you press that button, don't forget to do that and all the rest of it. So lots of those things just to keep track of, to implement. Matthew's an amazing implementer. And what I mean by that is he has a great artistic and design sensibility about him. and artistic eye. So when he implements something, he really does think about it. So a lot of times he spends a lot of time, and it's pretty bang on every time he does it. So that's awesome. But
Yeah.
anyway, so a lot of that's going on. He's also obviously there are new bugs, which maybe some people will be like, well, that's weird. How can there be new bugs when it's you're porting an old game? Because we are doing things differently. It's a new platform. New platforms always do things differently than the last platform. So there are bugs and there are things to fix. So he's doing a lot of that. Levels are being made. That's a really fun process. We're both doing, looking at existing old levels and improving them. Perry and I will sit
Yeah.
down, we'll play through it at one level at a time, both
Yeah. It's
playing it at the
crazy,
same
right?
time,
That's
chatting about it and going, that would be blah, blah, blah. And we kind of talk about, that's unintentionally too challenging there. Does that communicate what we want it to at that point? Or is that like a bad difficulty spike? I don't mind little difficulty spikes because that's exciting and keeps things fun and not bland. But sometimes you're like, is that going to be the point where someone's like, we don't want that. We want a
right.
nice curve with a little bit of bump along the way to keep it fun. So that's been really fun.
Yeah. So I
Um,
mean, and that's something to talk about. I mean, and then kind of a cool announcement, right? Is like the fact of it's not just a straight, the original Hatches, which I don't know if we've announced. Have you announced what the first one's called? The
the
name of the
yeah, I think
campaign,
Hatch's Awakening. Yeah, that's been
Hatches
on the
Awakening. Yeah.
screenshots and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
So that is not just. I mean, it's greatly expanded, and it'll be fun to talk about that in the future, like of what's in the actual campaign. But the
Mm-hmm.
levels themselves aren't just directly from Chicken Wiggle, the first one.
Yeah.
They've been redone,
Yeah.
remixed,
Yeah. Where we see an opportunity to improve upon it, we're going to take it. We're going to do it. So that's been really fun. So we're still working on that. And also in the level making process is obviously the new levels for Holly, which has been just really liberating, honestly. Because when it came to designing the levels for Hatch or
Yes,
the original game, um, it was very much in a little box, right? That you have this list of do's and don'ts that I set upon myself to create these levels. So there's a sense of consistency and a journey and a point to the whole thing. And I love that. And I love that Hatch's Awakening, the first campaign, is that very much inspired by 3D World, 3D Land, Mario 3D World, 3D Land, and that train of thought. And with Holly, we're like, hey, let's just go crazy and have fun and do what feels good with different things. So that there's less rules, there's less constraints. Um, Not only on the level structure and what's used in it, but even the gameplay rules, because the gameplay rules for the majority of the first campaign is just rescue your friend. And there are, 5 other rule sets like, kill all the enemies, key and lock, collect all the gems, etc. So we're like, hey, let's use those for Holly as well. So there's so her levels, oh my gosh, there's so much variety. And we also allowed ourselves to step up the difficulty a little bit where, that move that was required to get there, that simply does not exist in the game in Hatch's campaign. Like the player has never been asked or required to do that. Suddenly they are. Not to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is annoying, but like, whoa. Because the nice thing is, we know for a fact the player knows a certain amount of information about the player package by the time they get to Holly, because you have to beat Hatches
exactly.
to open up Holly. So we know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got there. So we can build upon that player's skill set and their knowledge of the player package and suddenly throw this at them. And they're like, oh, I see what you did there. Nice. If I do that. Like one simple example would be, here's a wall, death below you, but there's a ceiling here. You have to drop off, grapple to the wall, and grapple up to grab that to get up there. Like that's never been required of Hatch, but then Holly, we can require that because it's doable. It's all self-contained, and if you die, you start right back there and go, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. Anyway, I'm spending way too much time talking about this, but that's really fun. So that's been
Hmm.
so Holly's is really cool.
I mean,
And
talk
also,
about, and then
yeah,
just with projects, having I mean, because think about all that development you put into Chicken Wiggle the first time,
right.
and then having years to step back and then look and then introduce it, look at with time in between, you have a whole
Hmm.
different perspective. The game has completely changed and the identity of what it is.
Right.
So it's such a fun process.
It is. It's super fun. It is amazing. And I'm grateful now. that we're able to talk about this and kind of communicate some of this, and hopefully a lot of people, their patience, hopefully they feel is paying off as far as like, cool, I'm getting a better understanding. Some people, obviously rightly so, may have wondered what we're up to. Is this ever going to end? Is this game actually being worked on? And the answer to both of those is yes. And we're making great strides. So hopefully those that are patient and excited about the process, these little tidbits of information is like, oh yeah, cool. And looking forward to play that and see that.
And it's fun because I'm like, I think we're the two most excited people to play the finished product too.
Yeah,
I mean,
time.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not like this. It's like we're constantly looking forward to, how different it is being on that Switch screen or the 3DS screen, playing it on the big screen is so much fun.
Totally.
Let alone like an OLED, Switch and just
exactly. It's so much fun, dude. Yeah. It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to play the final game. It's the whole experience is quite different, which is exciting. And the other levels we're working on, of course, is for Max.
Yes.
And that's super fun because his player package is quite different. As we saw in the reveal
has a gun.
Video, he has a gun and he has a double jump, which is crazy. So
yeah,
that's
so much
changes
fun.
a lot, and he can shoot in all four directions, which is, I mean, Max has never been able to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? So really fun.
And it's fun because Max, it's not a Mutant Mudds game. It can feel like a Mutant Mudds game because it's a platformer, but it feels like this kind of fun, weird. It's kind of like Link's Awakening. How when like you see like the Goombas and all that Mario crossover, it's just you see Max. He just exists in the Hatch Tails world. It's his tail. It's one of the, and so it's just this bizarro.
Yeah,
is it a dream?
Well, it is. It's fun. I mean, exactly, because that was the thing. Like, what is this? Why are we adding Max, and what does that mean? And are we adding Mutant Mudds to Hatch Tails, or vice versa? What's going on here? And the end result is his campaign is called Max's Dreamland, so that suggests something. And it's really kind of him existing in Hatch's world, and that's fun. And as soon as we realized that and thought about that and go, yes, that's what it is. He doesn't have to be tethered to anything Mutant Mudds. He can just exist in Hatch's world, which is fun. So it's it's a fun trip for him to go off, and he doesn't have to be tethered to anything before. Quite the opposite. It's him in a new land having fun, which is super fun. And then the final part of what we're working on is new key art for Higon Higgity Hatch Tales, which is an important, probably often not talked about aspect of game development. We certainly try to take it
right?
Yeah, we try to take it very seriously. I'm just trying to check if he's asleep over there because there's a dog walking by outside, and that usually triggers him. But he's fast asleep like a little baby, so we're good to go. Little baby,
he's too cute.
Little Ollie
Oxworth guy.
Oh my gosh. So we're working on new key art, which is so exciting and so important. And that stuff we're developing is coming along really good. I'm really excited about it. And that is stuff we'll use for the eShop banner, on the eShop, for box art, all kinds of stuff to promote the game. And that's been fun in conjunction with what is the new attitude? What is the point of what we're doing to Hatch Tales? Yeah. What is Hatch Tales? And okay, it's a new mascot game in a nutshell for us. So what does that mean? Great. Let's make key art that reflects that personality. So when someone sees it at a glance, they go, oh, I know what that is. And hopefully the only question is, do I want it? Yes or no? Not what is that? What am I looking at? Because if that's the question they ask themselves, you've just lost. Yep. You've just lost the customer because they're like, unless it's just intriguing.
I love it. I love how, and we can tell people that our Japanese release, the key art, Hatch is very happy, but in North America, he's very
mad, very upset, just very angry. Kirby. Just like Kirby.
I love it. Have you seen those differences between those two?
Yeah, no, that's amazing, right? It's so fascinating.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So there we go. There's the update. Just focus on Higon Higgity Hatch Tales this week. So now we can move on to questions. The first question time. If you would not mind reading out, Mr. Thalberton, that'd be awesome.
This is from Robokai on Discord, which you should join our Discord. It's great. Jules, what is it like working with publishers and pitching for work for hire gigs versus being completely independent?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Robokai /Perry. Wow, yeah, it's completely different. I mean, that's actually how we started Renegade Kid, right? Was trying to pitch for other people. I mean, yes, we started with Dementium on our own dime, but we had to find a publisher to help fund that and finish it. Um, and trying to find a publisher, whether it be for your own work, publishing it, or just trying to find a work for hire. And work for hire is typically when you go to a publisher, they have their game. They want someone to hire to make it. So it's less original for the developer. So that's what work for hire is. So, but the process in courting a publisher is quite similar. And oh my gosh, we devoted so much time to creating PDFs, PowerPoint presentations, blah, whatever, for various games over the years, including Crash Bandicoot, Batman, Marvel,
Virtual Boy Wario Land.
Virtual Boy Wario Land, well, the whole Virtual Boy collection for
Yeah.
3DS. Like we pitched so many things, and sometimes it was a document, a one sheet as they say it, which just gets to the point about what the meat of the proposal is. Even to the point of spending a lot of time and resources and effort on playable demos. We did a playable demo for Batman Returns. No, Batman Beyond, sorry. The one that Way Forward ended up getting. I think this was for,
Oh,
I think it was 3DS? DS? I don't know. Way back where. 3DS? Oh, I don't
must
know.
be
I have no idea. Probably
DS. I think
3DS. Was it DS? I
it
don't
had
know.
to be
Must have
DS.
been. It probably was. But we did a really cool third-person action game with that.
Oh
It turned out
wow.
great. It really did. We after we'd finished Dementium and we were actually after Dementium 2 even we did a third person camera that looked like Silent Hill and kind of pitched that back to Konami, and they said no again, of course. And on that note, I should wrap up a incorrect data in the Renegade history. A lot of people talk about Dementium as the game that was originally a Silent Hill game, but when they said no, then we turned it into Dementium. It was the opposite. We created a game called The Ward that was our own game, and we're like, hey, and we're looking for a publisher to fund it. We're like, well, we could also pitch it to Konami to see if they want to make a Silent Hill game. And then they said
Interesting.
no. So it was always our game that we thought, hey, this could be a Silent Hill game. So just
Sure.
to set the record straight, because some people think it was a Silent Hill game that turned into Dementium. It was not.
Gotcha.
Anyway, yeah. So it's really tough work and actually really sucks pitching to
It does.
publishers to do original work or even their work. It's rough, and a lot of times the budgets are terrible. You don't know what to pitch. Sometimes you pitch a very aggressive but realistic budget and what you could do it for, and they turn you down just for that alone because they're used to budgets 3 or 4 times that. So they don't even take you seriously because they think you're underbidding, and then you're given the bad news later that you can't afford to do it like that, because that's happened, unfortunately, to them. So sometimes you have to actually do a budget that they're expecting, so it seems normal and it isn't suspicious. And even if it's way more than you need, that's good news because they may give it to you, and then you can really kick ass and get it done. But yeah, it's a horrible process, and I don't do much of it now, thankfully. That versus independent. Independent's so much better, but it has the risk of you live and die by the games that you create. So if they don't sell, you're done.
Just it's freedom,
It is. It's the freedom. So it's the balance of what's important to you, and to me, obviously, the freedom is amazing and it's incredible. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's it. Next question is a general for Perry Atherton. What was your process to create the Hatchtail soundtrack in the style of Grant Kirkhope? What process did you take, Perry, to do such a thing?
It's not very interesting, unfortunately. First was just listening to Grant's stuff a lot, and honestly, that's the biggest part. Dissecting,
Treating your ear.
It's what is the essence of Grant's stuff. Like,
and can you give us a snippet of what is an example of Grant stuff? Like, what is something you could pull out and go, oh, if I do this, is it instruments? Is it melodies?
Let's say chord progressions.
Right.
And like there's certain chord progressions that he's used that are just kind of iconic to his
interesting.
And so implementing those, into, and so obviously there's lots of new music in Hatch Tales, because there's lots of new content.
Mm-hmm.
and the original soundtrack was done by Matthew, the
Hmm.
programmer. And so both so both the new songs and the old Matthew songs are in this Grant Kirkhope, kind of mascot platformer style. And so I just listened and kind of capture the instrumentation mixed with the chord progressions, and then it really most of it is just kind of a gut instinct type thing. That's why it's not really something I can explain. It's just kind of like you just kind of get inspired. It's like these like literal like
Hmm.
explosions of what I'm looking for like of like you can see like the color
Mm.
of the songs inspiration. Like it's like you get ideas just like that, and it's just like, what if I was in this mood, what does this sound like? And then I record it. I record, usually I do a combination of kind of the melody and the chord progression on a piano, and then I just go from there, or add in the bass and the percussion and everything like that. But it's always different too. So
Yeah.
it's not like a very easy process to explain. It's a lot of it is just kind of natural
Hmm.
instinct. So
Well, and you have a lot of experience with multiple instruments, multiple music styles over the years, so that obviously must play a big part in the deconstruction of what you're listening to and how to
mhm.
reconstruct that, right?
Yeah. I grew up heavily influenced by classical music. I played viola and orchestra,
Hmm.
viola and upright bass, and then I was in a bluegrass band. So I was heavily into folk music, country music, and bluegrass music, and then playing a rock and roll band, 60s rock and roll. I mean, it's just music in general. I'm just a fan of music, and then so I've been composing ever since junior high. So it's just one of those things that um, or middle school for people. It was junior high for me. Now it's like all middle school now. But
What
yeah,
age
it's
is
just
that? That's like around what?
seventh and eighth grade. So I was like a
Okay, cool.
12, 13,
Yeah.
I think. So yeah,
Cool, man. Nice. Very
yeah, it
interesting.
was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, very exciting. And it's going to be great for everyone to listen to the adaptation of the old Chickawiggin sounds into the new
Hmm.
style, as well as the brand new tracks, which is very exciting. There's a ton of those. I mean, if not more than the original, right? Maybe
Yeah,
not,
I think
but
there
there's a
is.
ton anyway. I don't know. There's a
It's
lot.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and it sounds beautiful. And it's all part of the new feeling of the game. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, sir. All right. I think on to the next one is announcements.
Announcements. Yes. So we announced last week that we have a secret game, secret project, and we actually have played it already with some of our Discord members, which is
Yesterday, in
crazy.
fact.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
And so we're still obviously, if you want to know more and play it, you should join our Discord and be a secret tester. But the thing is you got to keep it a secret.
Mm.
But we've been testing it. It's been ridiculously fun. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness, I cannot wait for this game
Yeah.
to be unveiled into its full fruition of what it is.
It's a fun little thing. It's a nice
Getting
little.
tons of fun feedback, and
Yeah. It was good. It was really good. Yeah. We had. Yeah. I mean,
we got up to 9. We had 9 people
we got up
playing.
to 9 people at once, which,
Yeah,
maybe to some people that sounds like a lot. Maybe to some people it sounds like not a lot. I guess if you're used to
yeah,
Fortnite, that sounds like nothing. But
right.
if
No,
you're
that
used
is
to
funny.
something
Yeah,
else, that sounds like a lot. To us, it was a lot.
it was fun,
The game
and that was
maxes
just in
out
one. That was just in one clan. There was
session.
other ones going on at the
Yes,
same
which
time
is
too.
which is crazy to think, right? That was
I
happening,
know.
because before then we were the only ones playing it. So there's
Yeah,
only ever one room that we're all playing together.
exactly.
So the maximum number of players is 13 that can fit in the game. So we got up to 9, only because that's who we could corral together to play it. So it's obviously at some point we'll test the maximum 13
Hmm.
and that kind of stuff. But it's has bugs, has issues. Of course, we're going to iron all of those out. Phil isn't particularly concerned about our findings so far, so that's encouraging.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's fun. It's just a nice little
It's
project.
fun. It's fun being inspired and getting. It's just so fun how one tiny little idea nugget can steer
Mm-hmm.
the project into and can add something brand new and be like, oh my goodness, what a great idea. And
Yep.
so we've had
Oh,
that already
oh,
in the
dude,
past
yeah,
day, you know.
yeah. Oh, yeah, because yeah, indeed, we can get more into that game later. But yeah, there's lots to talk about that game. But yeah, super fun, man.
Yes.
All right, and then on to the next section, which were the games we're playing, and I have a feeling you and I have been playing the same game, which is
Big
interesting
Dewey.
because you picked Tui, because last week we were talking about Pokemon Pearl, Shiny
Which is really
Pearl.
random, right? Well, it was kind of random because
Yeah.
you've kind of been playing it off and on,
Uh huh.
and I just picked it up kind of as like a pre-release of Arceus.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
Arceus is good, I'm going to get it,
Yeah.
and I want to catch up a little bit with the current.
Just getting the
That's kind of
vibe,
where I
getting
was
the
at.
mood, kind of getting
So
the
I actually picked it up last
yeah.
week, like
Mm-hmm.
a couple days before recording,
Yeah.
and yeah, like I basically where I was last week, I didn't go past it.
Yeah.
The game. I felt like I've seen what the vision of this game is, and the inherent design of Shining Pearl, of Pokemon in general, is just fantastic. I
It
mean,
is. It's
it
lovely.
is. It's just
Yeah.
the catching. It's one of my favorite JRPGs.
Yeah.
In that sense, like that.
It's so playful. It's such a great. It's amazing. What they made
Yeah,
originally
yeah,
on the Game Boy still shines through to today, which is incredible.
yeah.
Just absolutely incredible.
But
So, what
so it's
happened
funny.
last week? Yeah.
Well, then, so I bought it for $30 off of Facebook Marketplace, and then I ended
Pearl,
up
right?
selling
Pokemon
it.
Pearl?
Pearl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And I ended up
Mhm.
selling it like a week later for $40. So
That's
I made some
capitalism right
money
there,
off
baby.
it,
Wow.
and yep. And then
Gas fees.
that's true. Then I went and I picked up Arceus in the same trip for
Literally.
$50 because it's $10
That's
off
right. And you sent me a
at
photo of
Walmart.
you looking
Mhm.
very excited
And
with
you
it.
were very jealous because you were waiting for yours in the
I
mail.
had pre-ordered mine on Amazon a month prior, and it didn't arrive until later that day, which was quite
It's a big
annoying.
Jim Bot move.
I
That's the thing.
almost cancelled it and just went out to get it because I knew Walmart had a ton. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then, because it had said, because it came out on Friday, and we're talking about Arceus, just in case, I know we're talking about lots of different Pokemon, so we're about Arceus right now. And then, yeah, it was supposed to come out on Friday. And then my Amazon thing said, yeah, you'll get it Saturday before 10 p.m. I'm like, that is disgraceful, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is. If
I
I can
know.
just walk out and get it down the street, anyway, it arrived that afternoon on Friday, thankfully. So that
And
was
you got 3
exciting.
copies.
I did one for me, one and one for each of my sons. So that was very exciting. So we
And
haven't done that very often. So that was exciting
yeah,
to do that. To ask them, hey, are
it's an
you interested in
expensive
this game? Do
venture.
you want a copy? And for them to actually say
Yeah.
yes is quite rare because usually
Yeah.
everything I'm interested in and everything I work on, no interest to them at all. So that was like, oh, nice. So that was cool. Anyway, it arrived. Here it is. Boom. Hello,
It's
Arceus.
amazing.
How are you doing?
It's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
know what
really, really
I
enjoy it.
was cautiously optimistic, I guess, is how I approached it. I liked the idea, but I was
Yeah.
worried about how sparse it was going to be, gameplay wise.
Yes.
I'm like, what's the structure?
Yeah.
Happy to
Sparse is a great
report,
way of doing it. Yeah.
the structure is fantastic. It's very
Love the
satisfying.
gameplay loop.
Yeah.
It is. It's fun. And it has that great feeling of I love continuing the campaign while also it's just fun just exploring and
You're grinding
quote unquote
naturally
grinding
by doing that.
and just and all the quality of life updates that
Love
honestly
it.
like I feel like it's really funny. If your other previous Pokemon games like like starting with X and Y and going, they make so many. They keep sanding off the harsh corners of the grinding, which is great on a lot of things. It ended up being like a little maybe too easy. Like maybe that's the best way of putting it for me for previous ones.
It
where I
does.
just didn't feel like I had any challenge.
I mean, Shining Pearl is a prime example of that, right? It's like you can just play it from a gameplay challenge perspective. There's not a ton of challenge. You can really just cruise control through it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't actually have too much of a problem with that aspect of it with Shining Pearl, but exactly, it just seemed like it kept getting rounder. Now it went
that's
from
interesting.
A
So,
cube
what
to
did
a
X and Y
ball.
do that you felt was a bit too?
Well, part of that was like the style of the game just kind of went from like it wasn't what I imagined in my head. Like
Yeah.
everything before that was kind of the 2D era, of like, I still have a little bit of imagination of what I'm thinking these environments I'm in.
Yeah.
Now it's fully realized in this 3D world, and it turns out it's more of like a Saturday morning anime cartoon. And it really, and I'm older now. It just doesn't appeal to me as much as it did when I was 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and the thing is with Arceus is that that's all gone. And even though there are tons of these awesome quality of life updates,
Yep.
like the feeling of catching Pokemon, which is weird because in the first games, I wasn't constantly catching Pokemon. It was never, you know what I mean? Now it's just like I catch like 10 Pokemon in 5 minutes. You know,
It just feels good, right?
And then you see all
Yeah.
your Pokemon gain experience.
Yeah.
It just feels great. And then, like,
isn't that interesting? That screen when you just did something, black screen. All of the little Pokemon slide on from the side.
Yeah.
It's all on a black screen, and then it goes away again. It's, I don't know. I would have never expected a black screen with that happening from a Pokemon game, but it totally works.
Oh, and they just they I mean, they totally were influenced by Breath of the Wild. I mean, the whole menu base is just like copy, and it's exactly what I wanted.
Feels
and that's
so good.
a big thing from Shining Pearl is it felt so cheap, and like, and no anti-aliasing of like pixel like you can see everything. It just looks so cheap. I don't know. And this one is just so beautiful, and the font
style
is
lovely. The characters look great.
Text boxes when they talk. The character design is fantastic.
I love that the new music edition. I can only say it's like classical Japanese style. I don't know
like
a better
feudal
way.
Japan. Right?
Yeah, I don't know a better way to describe it. But when you've captured something and the battle's over, and the way it kind of like wraps up, it's like, oh man, that was great. And the font, it's all it's really
so
cool. Really
love
neat. I wouldn't have expected
they put
that,
it
but
in a great
it.
era.
Yeah,
and it's just fun, right? It's like, well, and it's a fun curiosity. Like, what was Pokemon like in 1,000 years ago? Like, because if
totally.
It's fun. And the game is great. And I honestly, I think it looks gorgeous. I
love it.
I love the style. Yes, there's some weird texturing issues. It's not, the game's not perfect by any means.
It's never broken the spell for me. I think for me, that's the test. If you're playing the game and something happens, you're like, that hasn't happened for me. I'm playing it. I'm totally engrossed, really enjoying it. I mean, the detail is pretty impressive. You're there and you can see blades of grass and flowers and a massive vista and sparkling water and trees and Pokemon and berries hanging from the tree. I mean, there's so much going on, and it's all interactive. It's all real, happening right there. Super impressive.
Again, I won't spoil anything at all for anyone, but there are parts of the game when you stumble upon something and you're like, whoa. Like,
oh, that's cool.
And it's really neat, like, that I love. Like, again,
like visually, you mean? Like visual presentation?
Just interactive wise, that isn't in any other Pokemon game.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
I think you've probably experienced it already since you've played it.
Okay.
I just don't want to, I want to leave it mysterious. But it's just, it's really everything. I mean, it's definitely a first step in the open world direct. I mean, it feels like it is the open world game. It is exactly Breath of the Wild. What Breath of the Wild did for Zelda, is Legends Arceus did for Pokemon, where it's definitely a Pokemon mainline game. It's just different.
Yeah, totally. And like we were talking about the other day, isn't it interesting that they didn't do 2 releases of the game at the same time like they've done in the past with most of their games? Because it's Pokemon Legends, Arceus. You could have whateverus, and you could have the dark and the light or whatever vibe they want to go for of the 2. It would have fit perfectly. So isn't that interesting they didn't? And like we were talking about the other day, I kind of love that they didn't. I mean, I would have been fine if they did, but the fact that they didn't is interesting because it makes this game a little bit more special and unique. Like, there's only one of them. This is the one to get. I know that's silly, but it does have a psychological effect on you going into the game. It's very interesting. Yeah, It's neat.
It is neat. I hope that this is. I mean, I'm so happy. Like, this is the first Pokemon game that I've played for a decade that I feel like, honestly, the last time I played, the last Pokemon game I think I was this excited about playing was probably Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It was Heart Gold, and that was like,
and that was DS?
That was like DSi enhanced games.
So that was a while ago. So that was what, early 2000s?
That was
2010?
2009 probably. 2010. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Indeed.
really happy. And the Switch, just it's beautiful on the Switch, and it's awesome playing handheld. It's fun playing on the TV, which is a game changer. So
Totally do. Yeah, man. Yeah, good stuff. So we're both playing that. Well, you're playing Picturi as well, but
always.
And Wordle, we have got into that a little bit, haven't we, each day, which is fun.
Yeah.
It's a great challenge, but everyone else
That's
playing
a very
that,
fun
so
game.
whatever.
Everyone is, yeah. It's just, again, it's just, and a lot of people don't realize that that's a game. It's lingo. It's the game show, like I showed you,
Yeah.
from
Isn't that funny?
Ago, but
yeah, amazing.
apparently that can.
You never know what's going to take off for whatever reason. Cool, man. Well, I think that probably does it for our show this week. We have gone longer than anticipated, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be always the case because we like to talk about
7
games.
minutes every single time.
I know this. Yeah. Yep. Indeed. That should be the plan.
All right.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, it's good to see you, my friend, and I'll see you again next week. Bye, man. Take care.
Let's
give you a boosh.